Thank you, everybody, for coming to this podcast, the Dewsbury Rams Young'uns. We're going to sort of call it the next generation. And we've got a selection of supporters here who are 16 to 24-year-olds who regularly come to Dewsbury Rams fixtures. They're all very passionate supporters of the club. And first thing to do is we'll just go around in a circle, as it were, on Zoom, and we'll say your name and your age. So I think we'll begin with Kelsey.
Hello everyone, I'm Kelsey, I'm 24. I've been watching Dewsbury now for about 10, if not a few more years than that. So, yeah.
Very good. And Matthew?
I'm Matthew, I'm 17, and I've been watching Dewsbury ever since my dad could take me into the ground. So it's about 6 months old. So I can't remember it from that early, but pretty much all my life.
Lee.
I'm Lee. I'm 20, and I think probably the first game I went to, I were in about year 5, and I think Dewsbury came and did like a PE session with us.
Oh.
I think I were in the same class as Joe, so that was the first ticket I went to or a free ticket from that, and I've been going more regularly probably since I had my own kind of income and stuff. Probably since I was about 16, started going with Joe, and I've been a lot more regular since then. Yeah.
Yeah, and Joe.
Yeah, I'm Joe. I'm 20, and I've been going, I think, 11, 12 years now, supporting every week. So it's been a long time now. Yeah, lifelong fan now. Yeah.
Fantastic. So I think the first thing to sort of ask is, obviously you've said a little bit of why you got into supporting the club, but just to expand on that. So Joe and Lee, I think you just sort of intimated that the Rams came and did a PE session. So what was it from that moment that you thought, I quite like getting into the rugby league and watching the Rams?
Well, for me, I started going slightly before then, because it was my granddad's a supporter of Dewsbury Rams and has been for many years. And I started going, and I was only like 9 years old. So I was paying attention to the game, but obviously I was there enjoying it. And then I think I'd only been going a few weeks. And then that's when Dewsbury Rams came. They came to St. Pat's at Bristol, where me and Lee went to school together. And I think I said to you, Lee, didn't I? I says, you should come and you'll really enjoy it.
I wasn't totally sold on it before, because I'd never really watched much rugby league, but my dad were really into it. And then Joe pulled my leg. And when I told my dad that I wanted to go, I think he was chuffed, because he finally got to go watch some rugby rather than some football. So
yeah.
he was definitely happy to see me getting a bit more into it. Yeah.
And Matthew, you said that obviously you went 6 months old. You won't be able to remember your first game, but I know your dad very well as well, and he's been a passionate supporter of the club for many years. So it seems like you've just followed in his footsteps, as it were.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, having a dad that's so passionate, it just rubs off on you. And getting into a club like Dewsbury, not many people do, but when you've got a dad who's so passionate about something, you join in. It gives you something to talk about, gives you something to do with him, and just from that, a love for the club's come about, and I don't think it'll ever go away now.
Yeah, and Kelsey, you're obviously a regular visitor to the Tetley Stadium and pretty much every other rugby league ground that we ever visit. I mean, you've flown to Toulouse and back many times. Just tell us how you got into supporting the club.
Yeah, pretty familiar. Like story to Lee, and that the club at first had come into school when I was primary school, about year 5, and we got free tickets from that. So my dad took me, and it became more a regular thing then. And then when I reached about year 7, year 8, that's when I started to go more regular. I used to go every week, and most of the time it was by myself at that time. So that's pretty much how I got into it.
And I think what's quite clear is from your guys' backstory particularly is that engagement from a young age, and that's something that we have tried to do over the last 2 years with a little bit of success in the Rampage Club. So was there that element of when they came into PE, from what you've seen from what we did with the Rampage Club, was it that sort of system, like you say, you got free tickets and that sort of thing?
Yeah, I think it made people feel a lot more involved in the sport as well. The fact that it were a player that were coming round, so you know they gave you a bit more of an insight into it. And I think obviously at a younger age, actually seeing a player who's doing it well as a job, do you know what I mean? It were a bit. It's obviously a lot more inspiring and gets people into it a lot more than your year 5 class teacher taking a rugby session. And I think he spoke a lot about what goes on the match day and stuff, and the thought of going and having chips were what sold it to me, I think, as well.
Yeah, burger and
Not
chips.
wrong with burger and chips.
Burger and chips.
A burger and chips, I love it. And what other early memories do you guys have of going, apart from those lovely burger and chips? You know, what is it as a young lad that inspired you to when you turned up at the ground? Was it when you first saw the grass, the players running out? What was it that really got you?
I think for me, sorry, go on.
Yeah, go on. You go first, Kelsey. Go on.
Damn it! No, I'm going to say I used to go to the. I think they used to have like a little classroom, where schools would go into and do a bit of like English and maths and stuff. So I used to go there as well, and I remember one of the women there gave me a program. So I think that inspired me to go more as well. And plus, to be honest, it was convenient that I lived literally up the road. I used to live up Hanging Eaton at the time. That's where I grew up, so that helped as well.
Yeah,
I think.
And feeling that program and reading through it really interested you then, Kelsey?
Yeah, I think it did. Yeah, like I said, the earliest memories I've got.
Yeah. And like,
I think when I was there, I think my first game was actually Dewsbury versus Batley, which is obviously a very good atmosphere, and obviously the ground's packed, because even people who don't go to the games regularly, if they hear Dewsbury's Batley's on, even if they're not particularly supporting one team or other, they'll get down to ground because they know it's going to be a good game, a good day. And I think and I knew a lot of Bulldogs fans at the time who would go into the game as well, and it was just that kind of banter at the game and stuff as well that I hadn't really experienced before at the age of 9. That I really enjoyed, and the fact that it's friendly banter in rugby league. Do you know what I mean? There's not really a hatred there between anyone. It's all
good fun.
Yeah,
all good fun in it. And so I think it, especially with it being a lot more family friendly, I think that makes it a lot easier for parents to take the kids there and kids to actually get into enjoying the sport.
And Matthew, from your point of view, obviously, like we said, you were very young when you first went, but apart from those, maybe burger and chips and things like that that's been mentioned, what is it when you turn up to the ground as a young kid? What sort of made you fall in love even more with the club and the sport of rugby league?
Yeah, you can't go wrong with £3 for burger and chips, can you? I mean, that's the starting point, isn't it? £3 bargain. But I mean, like I say, I was really young when I first started going to watch Dewsbury, but I think the first real vivid memory for me was going to pick the Invincibles trophy up, from the League One season. We went unbeaten and got to meet all players and had photos taken with my dad. And I mean, I've still got that somewhere in the room. That really stuck with me. And then, meeting all the players, and you think, well, this could rub off on me. I could go every week. And then, like everybody else in this call, when you start identifying with something, it becomes regular. And then over this lockdown period, not being able to go to the ground for over a year, you realise how much you miss it. So that were a real special moment for me, meeting all the players after that Invincible season, and then that's just stuck with me since.
And we'll move on to maybe some of your favourite memories. So, I mean, for all of you, what I suppose an obvious question is, what is your most famous, not famous, but favourite memory of supporting the club? You can have a top 3 if you want, if it's difficult.
I think the Summer Bash. They have to be up there. Yeah. Okay. I think the fact you can have nearly every club, and their supporters all in one stadium together for a weekend. I think it's always something like that's always going to be up there. Yeah, because not any of it sport really, like football or anything. You won't be able to do that with football but I feel like the Summer Bash is a good one. I enjoy going there. I like that. I'm trying to think what other ones I've got. The one my earliest memories, I think it was Austin. I think Austin Buchanan or someone like that. I think it was when I went to one of my first games. He picked the ball up and ran the full length of the pitch and scored a try. And it was just how crazy everybody went. It was just that's one of my top memories as well. I feel that has to be up there. When players score run the full length of the pitch and score a try, just how crazy everyone goes in the stands and how the players react to it. It's good, definitely.
Lee,
kind of obviously because I've only been going regularly really for the past kind of 3 seasons with Joe, because I started going regularly. It was because Joe had left. Joe didn't go to sixth form and I did, so it was something to do with each other on weekends. Really wanted it a way to see each other in a day out and stuff. But I think definitely recently one of the best games I think I've ever watched of rugby league were when I think we beat Fev away, where it's 32-22.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. That was literally.
I know all the fans were streaming out, weren't they? They couldn't stay and watch out. Fev fans were on the way out.
We only decided to go at last minute, didn't we? We hadn't planned to go, and it was about an hour before kickoff. And I just messaged Joe, said, "Look, do you want to go?" And we said, "Yeah."
I don't think there were many of us there then. Well, there was only.
There wasn't a lot, no, because we were on that.
But we were making the most noise.
Almost as you just go in.
Yeah.
But we come back from behind, then they caught back up with us, and then we did. Well, in fact, no, we went in front, didn't we? They went back in front, and then we managed in second half quite a big comeback. We thought we were going to lose it at one point, but we just held out, and it was just proper defending for 20 minutes. And I don't think Fev fans could really handle that.
No, that's why they all walked out, innit?
And probably last game before lockdown as well that I got to were Oldham. We didn't get to Newcastle Gaming Cup or Whitehaven, but I think just because it were the last game, and that were another good game where we were on top for the whole time, and there were quite a lot there at Oldham game, I think, and all, weren't there?
Yeah,
it's about 100 there, I think, 150.
Yeah,
I mean, the thing with that, Lee, was that was the start of a week where, well, no, it was the end of a week actually. That was quite amazing, because in that week we played Widnes, which we incredibly won at home. We travelled then to Whitehaven in the muddiest game I've ever watched.
You couldn't tell kids apart at end, could you?
I mean, I unfortunately have got I've got a visual impairment myself, but even people with good eyesight couldn't tell the players who were on each side that night. It was that bad. And then that fantastic win at Oldham as well. I mean,
3 games in a week, wasn't it?
Incredible mileage that the boys had done in a week, and we'd managed to win all 3. So, and then obviously that the last game against Newcastle where we could have won it, and unfortunately we didn't in the end. But that Oldham win, I think one of the other victories, and I don't know if any of you lads were there at the time, was when Liam Finn kicked that fantastic last minute goal over against Widnes away.
Oh, I've seen the highlights. I didn't get to that one, but
I won't get there. But
the highlights on that.
Kelsey, I thought you might have been there.
So that I think that was the year before last, wasn't it?
Yeah, 2019. Yeah,
we beat 25-24, something like that.
Yeah.
I remember. I went over on the train that day.
Just say about your relation.
It was a good trip back.
Just say about your relation about when Finney kicked that over.
Yeah, it was brilliant. In fact, that was probably one of the best away trips I've been on. It was just amazing when he kicked it. I mean, I think what made it even better was I don't think anybody would have expected us to beat Widnes, especially away. So obviously doing it just felt a lot better.
They'd only just come down from
I mean, I don't
League,
know.
hadn't they? As well.
Yeah, they had. Yeah, it was the first season. Yeah.
Yeah, correctly. Yeah, that was the thing. They had all these Super League names, and we went there, and I don't think we'd been on a particularly good run of form at that point in the season, and so maybe a lot of people didn't expect us to get anything, and it was probably one of the biggest surprises of the season, I would have thought. Matthew, what about your favourite games?
I'm going to put a weird one out there. I remember the reserve grand final, last minute winner against Lee. I thought that were a pretty special moment for a club like Dewsbury, the first year that we had a proper reserves team out. To go to Lee, who were clear favourites in that league, and beat them like that, that were an impressive win and a good time, because it showed the strength and depth at the club. But unfortunately, reserves fell by the wayside. But I mean, that were an amazing win. Talking about the Widnes win in 2020, I turned up to that day on a wet, cold, snowy, miserable day, thinking we've got no chance here, and we pull that performance out of the bag. I think we had a lot going for us last year, but just a shame that we were all cut short, to be honest.
Really good start, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a brilliant start. I mean, what were it? Four wins out of 5, and we gave Lee a good game for about 70 minutes.
Yeah, 4 out of 6 we won, and the only ones that we lost were the cup game and the opening game to Lee, who tipped to win the league by miles, I think.
Yeah.
And even then, we gave them a game, like you've all said. What about favourite players then? Who's been your sort of heroes growing up, really? Obviously, there's a few standouts, I would have thought, in there. But Kelsey, who's been your favourite players over the period?
I've had a few. My first ever favourite player was Francis Maloney. I don't know if any of you lads remember him, but funnily enough, he came into school. That's how I got into.
Just know him from Fishers, working in.
Yeah. I say I used to know Fishers as well, but Francis was a good player. He was one of my favourites. I don't know really. I've had quite a few. I've had quite a lot. Chris Anakin's one of my favourites now. Although it probably helps that I know. Although it probably helps to know Chris. Yeah, I've had quite a few. Aidan Fowle, he used to be one of my favourites as well. Don't know if anyone remembers him. He was Warren Jowett days.
And what is it?
I used to like James Craven as well.
And what is it about these lads that you really liked? Was it just what they did on the pitch, or was it how they were off the pitch with the fans? What is it particularly that you thought was great about them set of lads?
Yeah, I think it was particularly both, to be honest. Yeah, they were nice enough lads off the pitch as well. Yeah. They were all good lads.
Joe Lee, Joe first, and any particular favourites from yourself?
I think it has to be for me up there. It's just I know he's still here. Sykesy, definitely, he's up there, right at the top for me. Yeah, I feel like he's like, with his experience, he's like one of the obviously the younger lads on our team can turn into to be like, but having a like him there with such the amount of experience he's got, I feel like he's like a proper rock for the team.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I think he's a good lad, Sykesy, definitely.
Any others?
I think it was Austin. Yeah, Austin. It is Austin Buchanan, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
But yeah, from a while ago, he was I think definitely my first favourite player. Yeah.
Any reason just because of how good he was on the field? I know
I think he was just from what I remember, it's just that first time when I saw him when he ran the full length of the pitch, and I was like, he's a good player, and it was just from that, and it's just I think it was from that. I was like, good, he's good, him definitely.
Nice one. And Lee, yourself?
I'm going to say definitely at the minute. I think probably the same as Kelsey said, Chris Anakin, because I think, especially in Championship, because it's quite a difficult league, and there's a definite kind of variant in the levels that teams are at. I think in terms of some of them have just come from professional Super League football and rugby, and the majority of them are the majority of the league are part-time and semi-pros. And so I think like anyone who actually puts a shift in for the full 90 minutes, and especially Anakin did it, Chris Anakin, when he were on loan to us before he signed permanently, even if it were just like a month-long period, he put a shift in for the full 90 minutes and absolutely just worked himself to ground for a team that at the time he wasn't at on a permanent basis. Do you know what I mean? That's quite a big thing, I think. And especially like you can tell a lot of the core of the team that's been there for the last 2 or 3 seasons now have to be up there with favourites purely because they're there for a reason. They perform on the pitch. You know, they've got the right attitude, and even in the games where Toronto away the other season, that result were awful, but I couldn't point to anyone on the pitch and say that they weren't playing for the shirt. You know what I mean? Like, and the performance, considering the jet lag of the long flight and everything, at those games, and they still played until the final whistle. So I think a lot of the core of the team now who've been here for a few seasons have kind of definitely earned their way into my favourites. Yeah.
Yeah. And Matthew?
I'd say my current favourite player is Sam Day. I play rugby league at the minute, and I'm quite a small kid. I play as a hooker, so Sam Day is definitely someone that I look up to. You know, I could pick the easy option and say I look up to a Super League hooker, but I'm a Rams fan through and through. So Sam to me is someone that I watch, you know, regularly in a normal season. I think that's who I want to play like, because he's a small lad. He goes out every week and he puts a shift in. You know, so Sam's definitely someone that I identify with as a player, because he's very much like me, size-wise and passion-wise. But I'll chuck in a weird one for favourite player. I remember back in the Morrison days, we had a player called Kieran Hyde, and it wasn't necessarily what he did on the pitch, but he was just one of those lads that had engaged with the community, and he'd always talk to someone after the game. And it sort of became a regular thing. After a game, he'd come and find me, and he'd have a chat with me and my dad, and he'd sit and talk to us. And I remember in his last season, I think it was 2015 when he left, he said, "I'll nip back into the changing rooms and I'll get you a bit of kit for you." And he ended up walking out with Michaela Jesus shorts. I'm thinking, what am I supposed to do with these? What would I have been now? I'd have been about 10 years old at the time, and I've got these double XL shorts. Walking home with these, like, well, what can I do with these? But you know, it was just one of those things where he came and spoke to you, and went and got you something, and it was just a special moment, because it were almost like another one of those times where you got really engaged with the club, because it wasn't just, oh, I'll come and play on a Sunday, I'll get my paycheck and go home. You know, he engaged with kids, he engaged with the fans, and that you know, I remember him right up till now. So
yeah, and one thing that we, so ever since I've been at the club anyway, that we've tried to harness, particularly under the time of Lee of late, is that, you know, the players stay after games. They enjoy a refreshment after the games with the fans. They all come upstairs. I know Lee is very big on that, and that must be something that's really heartening for you guys to see as well, in the bar after the game, and you see all the players coming up and just having a bit of a chat, and you know, even if we've lost a lot of the times, you know, they've come up and still had a word with the fans, and I think that's really important. And you know, is that important to you guys? We'll start with Lee.
I think, yeah. Again, I think that's one of the big things about rugby league, is that there's not many egos in it either. Like there's the players don't think they're above fans or anything. They're always, even at the end of the games, if like you say, if they don't go upstairs, they come up to kind of the fencing around the side, you know what I mean, and talk to people. They're always, I think just that extra bit of involvement, I think, especially when you're talking about younger fans, I think it's crucial. Like, I think it's a lot more. It seems to happen a lot more at Dewsbury than when you go to away games. You don't see it happening as much. Other clubs, and I think it's a shame for their fans, really, that they couldn't, that the players don't have that kind of engagement with them, that kind of relationship.
But when you see that, Lee, does that make you proud of how our club acts and how our players act with our fans?
Definitely, yeah. Because again, like you said, even when they lose, they'll still come. They'll say hello. They'll even get, you know, they always get like a clap and stuff at the end of the game because of that kind of attitude, I think.
Joe?
Yeah, I think I agree with Lee. And like them times when we lose, like if we lose by a drop goal or someone scored in like the final few minutes, the fact that you get that interaction with the players straight after the game, you can see like how upset and how like, you know, how like losing, how much it like it's shame, you know what I mean, that they've lost and how upset they are and wish they'd won. Where like, you know, obviously in other sports you wouldn't necessarily get to see that. And I think having the interaction like pretty much straight after the game like that, whether it's like, you know, in the bar afterwards or around the fizz, I think it's good that you're able to do that. And like Lee said, that you don't get to see that really happening at any other clubs. So I think it's a good thing.
Kelsey, obviously I've seen you out in the Royal Suite after the game, having a chat with a few of the players on a regular basis. How much does it hearten you that the lads come up and spend that time with you after the game?
Yeah, it makes me happy that they do it. I think it's a good thing that they do. To be honest, I think it's something that club should be doing, you know, even if they just send one or two lads up to engage with fans. I think it's a good thing. I think if we could maybe extend it to a wider community, it could do the club a lot of good.
Yeah.
Well, we'll come on to things obviously that the club can push on and maybe do a little bit better. Matthew, what's your thoughts about players coming in the bar after the game? You said about one of your heroes, you know, doing it, but even this group of players, you know, it's been really good to see that the majority of lads, if not all of them, regularly come up to the Royal Suite to say hello.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just like you're saying about Kieran there, he might not have known it, but you know, when he were having a chat with me, he made a really good impression. So he made a lifelong fan out of me. So just that bit of engagement from players after the game, you know, like other lads have been saying at the fence after the game or coming up to the bar. It just leaves a little impression on people, and they come back for more. And I think, you know, good lads, good rugby, good club. It's a family feel. We'll come back next weekend, and I just think small stuff like that builds up, and you get a real good feel about a club. And I think Dewsbury's got one of the best feels about it in the division, definitely.
Yeah, and one of the things that I think has been quite key, particularly in Lee Greenwood's time, is that he's a young head coach himself. So you being the age you are, lad, does that resonate with you? The fact that we've got a young head coach in charge, and again, he seems to have a very good interaction with supporters, whether it's through you know, Zoom press conferences or coming up after games or coming to events. You know, is that something that you seem to like about our club as well? The fact that we've got this young head coach in charge, Kelsey.
Yeah, I think definitely. I think it's relatable. I think it's a good thing actually, because I think sometimes it does you better to invest in future, and I think you've got to do that bit. You know, having a young head coach and a young average squad, average age for the squad. I mean, I think a lot of people forget that Lee actually was a player himself just some 10 years ago. he actually was part of the squad that won the Northern Rail Cup for Batley. So that that says how young he is. I think it does good to have a young coach.
Lee?
Yeah, I think the same. It's more of a case of rather than it's like a long-term vision almost, isn't it? Rather than recruiting a coach to do right here, right now. This is where we need to scrap to be where we are or whatever the attitude you see in a lot of clubs and especially in other sports. I think having someone who's when I think Lee Greenwood's only about a year older than Paul Sykes, if that. So when you've got a manager who's even like only a year older than your captain, I think that's really kind of telling of the attitude of the club. Looking again, giving people a chance. And I think Lee, especially at the start, when you look at the start of last season, what a time for the lockdown to come. Do you know what I mean? We were absolutely bouncing at the start.
Just like Dewsbury's looking at that.
Yeah.
Starting a season and then the global pandemic comes and shuts us down.
But
not more
that were a
like
squad
it, than that.
He'd been given the chance to
Pretty typical, isn't it?
himself, Anti, as well, and he's obviously made some really good picks and stuff. So, but can't fault that at all. No.
Yeah, Joe, what about for you?
I agree. I think it's good when you've only got like a small age gap between your players and the coach. I feel like I think it's a really good thing because, like, obviously, there's more he's like in charge of us, the more like experience he'll get, and there's like obviously the start of the season before the pandemic hit has shown like the vast improvement that was seen in them few games from like previous seasons and previous different coaches, and that I think it's a very good thing. I think Lee's very good.
So moving forward, guys, obviously one of the main aims that we wanted to get out of this podcast is just going on to talk about what further things the club might be able to do to entice people of your age. So we spoke a lot about the social elements, going in after the game, spending time with your mates. You seem to think that that's very important. What are the other elements that if you were going to say to some of your friends that might not like rugby league, why should they come to Dewsbury? Why should they go instead of going to play on the Xbox or instead of going to watch football or whatever? What is it that you would say to somebody to make them to come to Dewsbury Rams? We'll go with Kelsey first.
Well, I think first of all, it's something to look forward to at the end of every week, isn't it? You work hard all week. I think it's, it's just something to look forward to. It's a good thing to look forward to as well. I think second of all as well, it's cheap, isn't it? Like football, the prices seem to go up and up and up all the time, don't they? Whereas the prices, at least at our place, don't seem to stay pretty stagnant, don't they?
Yeah. Matthew?
I agree with Kelsey. Generally speaking, we'll play on a Sunday, and it just gives you something to look forward to on a Sunday. I mean, we've got Whitehaven coming up this Saturday, and it's all I've been looking forward to this week. It gives you something to get excited about. And what I'd say to people is, if you come out and you start supporting Dewsbury, give someone to talk to. If you can have a chat about a club that not necessarily everyone's going to know about, and it's making improvements, isn't it? Everyone could talk about how Leeds Rhinos have got on that weekend, but not everybody knows about Dewsbury. So if you start talking to people and having conversations, that's just a starting point, isn't it?
Lee?
Yeah, I think it's pretty much the same, especially like Sunday's a rugby league day, isn't it? Do you know what I mean as well? So there's not a lot going on elsewhere on a Sunday for you to do, and I think that the fact that there's a sport on a day that you're probably not watching anything or committed to other things anyway is like definitely a massive selling point for it. The community engagement, like we're saying, you can go to a gaming and if you go to a game, a Super League game or whatever, or you go to a game, a football match where the stadium's packed again, you see people, but you don't necessarily see the familiar faces unless you're there in the same seats every week. Whereas in at Dewsbury, like I've noticed, there's always familiar faces there. There's people who are there week in, week out who you get to know over the time. Like even just over the last year or so, going more regularly with Joe, we've got to know people that we didn't before. And
definitely
catching up with people who we hadn't seen in a while, like Kelsey from Fishers, obviously, he was probably 3-4 school years above me and stuff, and it's people who you haven't seen in a while, and it's again you get to watch the sport while having that.
So what? And Joe, I'll quickly come back to you, Lee, on that. But Joe, what about for you, mate?
Yeah, I think I agree with everyone else, to be honest, because it's that looking forward, like at the end of the week. Like if you've had a tough week, like and you knew like Dewsbury were at home or like away, you know what I mean, while playing. It was something definitely to always look forward to. And that, like what Lee said about when you're there, you start to pick up on you start to see familiar faces every week. And like you said, getting to know people. Like if you was at a big like Super League game or football, you sort of seeing all these people, but like not all like the same faces every week. Where at Dewsbury, obviously, you get to know everyone, especially like when you're in the stand. If you like usually getting like your regular spot, you get to know everyone around you. I think that's really I like that.
Yeah, and so it's for you, Joe, and for you, Lee, and Matthew and Kelsey. It's about that family club element, isn't it? That I think that you're trying to point to in the fact that you see the same faces every week and you know everybody, and it's a real family type club, and that's what we've tried to build, and that's something that you guys have obviously taken on board, and you can see happening then.
I do think just that, like we're saying, it's the familiar faces. It's stuff like we probably like when we were at Summer Bash. You know, you get to see people who maybe even if they're not going to the games regularly, have committed to going to Summer Bash. You recognise the shirts, and I think when we got there, I don't know if we do it exactly the same again if we went again, Joe, but we were there for the whole thing from the first game to the last game, even for the warm-up games. I think it were Yorkshire women versus Lancashire women.
The warm-up match. Something like that. Yeah, we were there both days.
You find people wearing the same shirt, and that's how you get to know people. You then see them at the games and stuff, and even that makes you want to then go on the away days even more, like to the away matches, because because I know there's times where I know Joe goes, if I can't make it, Joe still goes. If Joe can't make it, I still go, because I know that there's faces there, there's people who you know.
Yeah. And let me one of the last questions I want to ask is, what as a club can we do more of, or do that we're not doing right now that you think would entice more young people to come to the club that are our age? What would you say? We'll go to you first, Joe.
I think like that experience me and Lee had, like sort of that coming to school or going to like a sixth form or something like that, getting like with a player, getting you sort of trying to get you involved in it, and I think that's what I've definitely got Lee interested in it, and I think like that once you get go and you get like good, like a good memory or something, or you know something that sticks with you, and then like you get like it's like you get hooked on it. Do you know what I mean? It's just something like that. I'll never stop going. Do you know what I mean? I'll always be there every week.
Kelsey, what would you say?
I think Joe makes a good point. Just sort of going into schools and stuff. You know, I think posters. I think maybe posters would be a good idea. You know, plastering them all over town. I know it's something that's been done before, but I think you can't get enough of it. And I think we used to do like bring a friend for a tenner, or something along them lines. That'd be good as well.
Yeah.
Because like Joe says, you know, you only have to go once and that's it. You know, you're up to them. I know I will.
Is there anything particularly on a match day that you think would maybe entice people in? Is there something
I've got one, Steve.
Yeah,
match day, I've got one. I remember being a kid, and I can't remember when it was, but we did like a half-time competition where some players that were in the match day squad, they came onto the field with us, and they did a catching competition. They just kicked the ball up in the air, and if you dropped it, you got another go. But if you dropped it again, you're out. And the last person to catch a ball won a signed Dewsbury Rams ball with all the players stuff on. So as a kid, even something as small as a signed ball by all Dewsbury players, you think, oh, I've got to have that. I've got to have that. So it'll get more kids onto the pitch. And then I agree with everyone else, like Joe and Kelsey have been saying, getting into schools, getting into community clubs. I know it's difficult at the moment with COVID, but when you look at Dewsbury as an area, the amount of amateur clubs that you've got around, Thornhill, Dewsbury Celtic, Dewsbury Moor, Shawcross, there's plenty of them. Getting to those clubs and take some sessions with some at younger age groups, and don't just rely on Rampage Club to get people coming to Dewsbury. Maybe Dewsbury get to them as well. I think that could definitely help.
Yeah, Lee.
Yeah, I think if you're talking like match day stuff, I suppose, and hurts me to say this as a Leeds United fan, but in terms of family stuff, Huddersfield Town's match days, they do a lot of stuff for the kids beforehand. I know because I've got a few mates who go there. Do you know what I mean? Get kids enjoying it at a younger age, so that then they want to go every week. They get into that, and then as they're getting older, that they'll want to carry on going stuff like. I know they did it's silly stuff like free face painting and stuff for kids before games and stuff like that. That I know they do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Stuff like that for the kids, and maybe like halftime activities and stuff.
Like a crossbar challenge or something.
Yeah, stuff like that you see at a lot of the friendlies and stuff, don't you? They do, like, the friendlies, Boxing Day friendlies and stuff. There's crossbar challenge stuff like that. That's the stuff that kind of the older kids, younger teenagers would enjoy. Other than
who don't want to sign Dewsbury Rams ball, eh? Who won't want that as a prize?
Because the club has in the past, like for instance, after the game we had a guitar player come down. I don't know if you remember it, some of you, where after the game against Batley we won, which obviously is a good start anyway. And then behind the south stand, it was because it was a perfect day and it was so sunny. We had instead of people congregating in the Royal Suite, we had somebody playing music, and there was burgers and things sold. Does anybody remember that?
Yeah, I do. We had behind the south stand, weren't it? We had a singer as well, I think.
Yeah, singer. Yeah, and
rightly, I remember that.
And do you think things like that would maybe entice more younger people as well if it was more more of an event rather than just coming to watch a rugby league game?
A day out, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
So more things like that, and like you say, obviously for the young kids, face painting and things like that. Then.
Yeah, like you say, you could vary it. You could do, like Joe said, crossbar challenge at half time, and then next week you could have something on after game. Week after that, you could have something before game, like face painting. Just mix it up so people come and they don't know what they're going to get, but as long as they're involved, it brings them back next week because they might be doing something totally different next week.
Yeah. No, well, I think that's it, guys. Well, thanks very much for joining us on this podcast. I'd like to thank Matthew. I'd like to thank Joe, Kelsey, and Lee for all turning up. You're all massively passionate, obviously, because you got your Dewsbury Rams shirts on very proudly worn, which I absolutely love. And hopefully, we'll have a very good season.